this mod does a fantastic job. None of these guys are Muslim or Christian. As you can see, the Balkans is completely fractured. These are not missing nations. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing a mod review for the mod called Gods of Old. But before this video begins, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. In fact, only about 17% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed to me. 83% of you are not subscribed. So I would definitely like to see the number of the people who want to be subscribed go up from 17% to something else. And I know with you all's support, we can definitely make that happen. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. And now let's jump into the mod. The mod called Gods of Old is basically an alt history mod which focuses not really on any one particular event, but rather focuses on the fact that Christianity does not exist and has never existed in any capacity in the map. So this mod is basically trying to say, what if there was no such thing as Christianity or no such thing as Islam as well, as the mod basically aims to completely get rid of Christianity and get rid of Islam. So as you can see, just from a quick glance, things on the map are very, very different, not just on the religious screen, but in the political map mode. And we're going to go ahead and dive into that in just a second. To start off, let's take a quick look in Western Europe, specifically Iberia and France. So as you can see in Iberia, things are quite a bit different. There is no Castile, there is no Aragon. However, we do have Galicia, Asturias, some of these other kingdoms that you might be familiar with. The cultures are also completely different, so that's one of the other things that this mod has completely done, is the cultures have been completely overhauled. And one thing that I want to just preface before we get further into this mod and you all start commenting, this mod is in very early access. I actually just found it on the Steam store. It's really cool. I love all of the stuff that they've added with the cultures and with the religions. However, the mod creator has not had enough time yet to go in and redesign all the flags for all of these nations, as well as kind of add the various things such as the icons for the religion or even some of the normal text that kind of describes the religion. So do keep that in mind before you all start commenting and saying that stuff is missing. I know the mod creator knows as well. This is in very early access, but it is still really cool. So as you can see, although there is quite a bit of stuff missing, particularly in just the small details and the art, many of the fundamental things in the game are well done. As you can see, we have the cultures, like I mentioned before, different culture groups. We have different cultures in France, as well as different states. As you can see, Iberia is completely shattered. France is even more shattered, although we do have Burgundy right here. Of course, completely different rulers, by the way. Some of the rulers are going to have slightly different cultures. You can see this guy is Pictone. I don't even know what that is. Different names and different things like that. Some weird hybrid cultures, Normantania and things like that. So France is completely shattered as well. The religion for pretty much all of Western Europe is Mithraist, I think is how you say it. Really cool. What the religion of Mithras gives you is minus 0.5 local unrest, some minus 2% local missionary strength, and some yearly prestige. So that's quite nice. Again, there's no art icon for this religion or a description of the religion just yet. However, the mod creator has said that he is slowly working on it. Going over to Central Europe, modern day Germany, or as we know in the base game, the Holy Roman Empire. As you can see, the HRE does exist. However, you have completely different people as the emperor. There is no Austria. Instead, you have this nation here. You have Athens, actually. You have Athens, who is the Holy Roman Emperor. You have Milan, who is an elector. You have Sicilia, so Sicily, who's an elector. You have Latium, who's an elector, and you have Thrace, and you have all of these other nations. These are not missing nations. However, these are just nations who are being used as a placeholder, so do keep that in mind as the mod creator has not finished some of the art for the flags. But going back to Central Europe, as you can see, things are completely different. It's actually less shattered than in the base game, believe it or not. This is actually a more united German region. So you have Metz, Saxony, Thuringia, Lombardy, all the way up here, the Lombards before they went into Italy, I guess. The mod creator really does not specify what they mean when they talk about alt history. Of course, we know it's alt history because Christianity and Islam don't exist. However, the mod creator doesn't really say anything specific for why the map, the political map mode, looks the way it looks. As you know, with Antebellum, certain things were meant to have happened, certain things were not meant to have happened. Same with some of the other mods I reviewed on this channel. It kind of says that maybe a battle didn't take place or whatever it was. However, the mod creator doesn't really specify what they're trying to replicate. I don't really know. Maybe in the future there'll be some backstory and some lore to this mod. But for right now, pretty much the only lore that exists on this mod is that Christianity does not exist and will never exist, and Islam also does not exist and will never exist. So because of that, the religion map mode looks absolutely crazy. The cultures for Central Europe are relatively the same, although we do have some new ones here, kind of ones that have just been renamed, although they are kind of grouped the same. I can't really see all of them, so I can't give a full breakdown. However, do keep in mind, I will leave the mod link down below, so if you all want to check out this mod yourself, definitely go ahead and click the link and give the mod creator a positive review, as this mod, although it is not finished and still needs quite a lot of work, specifically in the art scene and the graphics, has definitely been really well done with the cultures and with the religion. Going over to the British Isles, which is where it looks the most fun. As you can see, we do not have England or anything like that here. You kind of have this little Viking nation, but what I really wanted to show you is the religion map mode. Look at this. So you have the Norse here in northern Scotland, you have some Norse here in Ireland, and you have most of England being Norse, and Norse gives plus 2% missionary strength, plus 50% galley combat ability, and if you are Norse religion, you may raid coasts, including coasts of countries with the same religion. That is really cool. So you can play this nation right here, a raiding Viking. You can basically raid everything. I can imagine some really, really powerful provinces that you can raid here along France, Paris, you can raid Holland and things like that. Really cool. And honestly, I can imagine playing this nation in the British Isles is probably really amazing. Along with Norse, we also have Druidic. So the Druid religions, the ancient Druid religions of the British Isles, which I'm sure you all know, we still celebrate some of the Druid festivals today in real life, such as Halloween and things like that, which is really cool. I do like how this is in the game. As you can see, Druidic gives -1 national unrest just based from the religion, which is all right. Again, no graphic from this, but I imagine the mod creator is going to add something really cool for the religion. Going to the culture map mode of the British Isles, as you can see, there are basically 3 culture groups that exist within the British Isles. You have this culture group, which is kind of exclusive to the Bretons. I believe this is kind of supposed to be like kind of like a Celtic culture. You have this culture here for the Viking nation, which, as you can expect, is kind of a Norse culture, a break off of the Norse culture. As you can see, you have the Geats over here, you have the Norse, you have Swedish, which is kind of just like another Swedish culture, you have Danish, and you even have Norse, which is really cool. And for the third one, you have Irish. So Irish actually exists in its own culture group, which is really cool, completely separate from the other culture groups in the British Isles. So definitely, if you are playing in the British Isles, subjugating Ireland is going to be that much harder. Going over to Scandinavia, as you can see, we have a small Sweden, but we actually have a very big Sapmi. As you can see in this mod, the Sapmi have not been beaten down. Instead, the Sapmi are absolutely massive. Same for Finland. We actually have a very big Finland. We have this guy who has coins in his name. I don't really know where that is from, but okay. We have this Finnish man who has coins in his name. Very cool. I'm not going to judge. And for the religion, we actually have a split between Norse and Suomensko, which is really nice to see. So of course you have Sweden and Norway and all these other nations down here, the Geats as well, who are all Norse, which you can expect. However, in the north, we have the Suomensko. So as you can see, the Sapmi and the Finnish are both the indigenous Suomensko religion. And Suomensko in this mod gives plus 2% local missionary strength. Really nice. For the cultures in Scandinavia, we have this culture group here, which groups Danish, Geatish, Swedish, Norwegian, and these 2 ones over here, along with Icelandic. But Sapmi, Finnish, and Karelian, all those are all in their own culture group, which is really cool. They are completely separate from the Norse culture group. We even have Estonian there, which is really nice. So they're all kind of in this Finno-Ugric culture group, which has Sapmi, Finnish, Karelian, this one here, and even these indigenous tribes, Premi, Veps. Really, really cool. I do like how this mod isn't necessarily historically accurate, because again, it's an alt history mod, but this mod adds a lot of stuff from real life and history and gets a lot of things right, especially with the cultures. Going over to Eastern Europe, Poland, Hungary, and of course modern day Russia, things are, well, very, very different. As you can see, we have the Kiev, we have Crimea, we have the various steppe wars. We do have a Muscovy in this game. However, Muscovy has absolutely no vassals, and they are not Christian. Instead, they are this other religion here, this Radunerveri. I'm sorry, that is completely incorrectly how you pronounce that, but I've never heard of this religion before. And this one gives you just plus 2% local missionary strength, which is really nice. Pretty good religion, as you can see here. We also have Remuva, which is another religion which I have actually seen in some other mods that I've covered on this channel, which also just gives you plus 2% local missionary strength. For the cultures in Eastern Europe, things are quite a bit different. As you can see, we actually have the Avars, so we do not have a Hungary here. We actually have the Avars, and they are in a different culture group. They are kind of just in their own separate culture group with the Avars and the Cumans. I was expecting maybe that they might be related to these culture groups here in Southeast Asia, but nope. The mod creator has instead decided to have them all just linked in one, to have them all just in their completely separate culture group with the Avars and with the Cumans. Along with the Avars and the Cumans, we do have some other culture groups here in Eastern Europe. As you can see, Muscovite, Belarusian, and all these are of course in the same group, which you would expect they're in the East Slavic group. We have Lithuanian, who has their own culture group, the Baltic culture group. However, Lithuania is a lot smaller in this mod than it is in the base game. We kind of have these other cultures here, the West Slavics. We have Poland, Czech, Slovak, Mazovi, all these other ones, which is really cool. Same for the Germanics. You have the Saxon culture group. You have this culture group here, which is called the Bavarian culture group, the South German culture group. In France, you have some various culture groups here as well. You have the French culture group, and then you have this one down here, and then you have another culture group which kind of all groups all of Iberia together, which is nice. Along with these Slavic culture groups, you also have these steppe nomad culture groups. So you have Pechenik, Crimean, Mishar, Nogai, Siberian, all of these which you would expect to be linked together, and in this mod they actually are. You have the lovely Goths, who are actually all related to the Baltic culture groups, so the ancient Greeks, the ancient Macedonians, and stuff like that. Speaking of the Greek cultures, let's go ahead and take a look at the Balkans. As you can see, the Balkans is completely fractured, and we have some known tags from history, such as Athens. We have Macedonia. Athens is actually the emperor of the HRE, which is really cool. There is no Ottomans in this mod. There is instead Germion, who we actually know is, I believe, a releasable tag from the Ottomans in 1444, if I remember correctly. We also have our beloved Karaman with their Jewish flag, Kandar, Eretna, all these other ones which you know and love. However, none of these guys are Muslim or Christian. They're Mytheist in Greece, and in Anatolia, they are actually Zoroastrian. So again, no Christianity and no Islam. Looking at the cultures in Anatolia, everyone is pretty much just Turkish. Nothing really has changed here, although Turkish in this mod is related to the other culture groups from the steppe lands, such as Turkmeni, Kazakh, Uzbek, which is really nice and is different from the base game, where Turkish is grouped in the same culture group as Egyptian, Bedouin, and these other cultures right here. Going over to Egypt and Arabia, we basically have our beloved Egypt starting tag. We actually have a pharaoh, which is really cool, and Egypt is not Christian. They are not Zoroastrian. They are not Mithras. Instead, they are Kemetic. I've never heard of this religion. I don't really know anything about it, but the religion in Egypt is Kemetic, and Kemetic gives you -4 local unrest. Again, there is no icon here drawn for the religion. However, I do imagine it's going to be something really cool once the mod creator gets around to it. We also have a few Mithras provinces here for this tag called Cyrenaica. We have Tripoli, who are actually fetishists, which is really cool. And actually, you do have more fetishism in Africa. You have Tripoli, you have Mazab, Fezzan, all of these guys are fetishists. Going over to modern day Morocco, we of course have lovely Sus, we have Tafilaut, we have Bahrain, we have Marrakesh. There is no Morocco and there is no Tunis. Marrakesh is not Muslim, of course, they are Mithras, but Sus and Tafilaut are actually fetishists, which is really cool. And zooming further into Arabia, as you can see, you have many of the tags that you all know and love from the base game. However, the religion is looking completely different. As you can see, there are way more Jewish provinces in Arabia. In fact, Arabia is kind of split between a bunch of religions. You have Jewish over here, you have Arabic over here, you have even some Zoroastrian and some Hindu Hindu provinces, which is really cool. I, again, don't really know where the history for this mod comes from. The mod creator doesn't really say. They don't really say maybe there's a particular battle. All they really say is that this alt history mod is basically just based off of what if Christianity and Islam never existed. So I guess if Christianity and Islam never came to be, this is what the religions would look like in Arabia, although the Hindu is quite interesting. So let me know in the comments below, is there kind of a historical preface for having Hindu in Arabia and in Africa, as you can see here? Were there Hindus here? Let me know in the comments below, because I'd really like to learn about that. As you can see, the cultures are basically the same. We have lovely Bedouin, Omani, and all of these right here. So nothing really has changed too much in Arabia for the cultures. Going over to Persia, as you can see, things are quite a bit different. There is no Timurids. Instead, you have a bunch of little tags split up altogether. There is an Armenia, though, which is really cool. There's Zoroastrian, of course, but still, Armenia does exist. You do have Baluchistan, who are also Zoroastrian, and looking at the religions here, basically everyone here is Zoroastrian. I imagine in this mod, it's probably very easy to form Persia, especially if you just start as these guys. They actually have no vassals or anything like that, so it should be very easy to just conquer all this stuff and form a lovely Zoroastrian Persia. Looking at the cultures, things are basically the same as the base game. I think there might be one or two new cultures, like this one here. I've never heard of this one, same for this one, but do correct me if I'm wrong about the cultures in Persia. Going over to India, as you can see, things are way more split up in India. There is no Mewar, there is no Bahmanis, there is no anything like that. Instead, everyone is split up. We do have Gujarat, Sindh, and places like that, but there is Rajputan, and the religions in India are split between Zoroastrian, Buddhism, and Hinduism, and you also have some Jainism provinces, which is really nice to see. If you don't know, the Jains are basically estates that exist in base game EU4. However, the religion itself does not exist in the base game. However, this mod does a fantastic job in including the Jains as well as the Hindus, the Buddhists, and everyone else coexisting here in India, which is really nice to see. Going to the cultures in India, it looks like things are relatively the same. You do have, I think, one or two new cultures, especially around here, I think. However, not too much has changed for the cultures in India. Going over to Southeast Asia, New Guinea, the Philippines, New Zealand, etc., things are the same. The mod creator, I don't really think changed anything else. The religions are also the same, it looks like. Of course, you do have some Zoroastrian provinces here to replace what would have been Muslim provinces. However, other than that, everyone is still Hindu and animist like they are in the base game, of course, including the Australian Aboriginal religion. Going over to China, where things are quite different now. As you can see, there is still the Empire of China, however, it is Ming, and the empire is much more split up. There's also a new UI for the Empire of China, which is really nice to see, but China is way more split up. There's no Ming, there's no anything like that. Instead, you have a bunch of just these little tags. None of these tags are actually tributaries. Instead, pretty much all these tags, Yu, Min, Chu, all of these are actually independent, as you can see here. And religious-wise, it's an absolute mess in China. As you can see, there is no Confucianism. There is this, unless this is supposed to be kind of Confucianism, I don't really know. But there's this religion here. It is split between animists, Buddhists, and there are even Taoists, as you can see here, the Taoism religion, which I guess is supposed to be kind of the Confucianism. And of course, it would not be gods of old without lovely Zoroastrian provinces popping up everywhere, as you can see. And I do love the inclusion of the Taoists, as in base game E4, the Taoists do exist. However, they just pop up as rebels. You can't actually convert to Taoism, but this does a fantastic job. And I was incorrect. There actually is a Confucian province here. There is one Confucian province that exists here in Beijing, surrounded by all these religions, surrounded by Taoism, and surrounded by Buddhism, animism, and even more of these shamanism and Tangri religions. Cultural-wise, things are, I think, the same. I honestly am not too familiar with the cultures in China. Things could be completely different here, and I probably wouldn't have noticed. But the grouping of the cultures, at the very least, is really cool, and same for these separate ones here. They're all grouped in Tibetan, Uyghur, and things like that. So that's really nice to see. Going over to Siberia and the steppe lands, you can see there is no Oirat, there is no anything like that. We do have our lovely little Nogai here, of course, but the cultures are actually quite different. You do have some new cultures here, like such as this one right here, and the grouping is really cool. You actually do have separate groupings here. You have this culture being grouped separately. You have actually these cultures being completely separate. So Oirat and all these are in their own culture group, whereas Kazakh and Uzbek and all these are in their own culture group. And then you have Nogai, Siberian, Mishar, Crimean, Pecheneg all being in a completely completely different culture group. Looking at the religion in Siberia, in the steppe lands, it is a mix between Buddhism, shamanism, and Tangri. Of course, we all know in the base game that a lot of these tags over here are Tangri. However, it is really nice to see some shamanism around here. Of course, these are all uncolonized provinces, so you're really not going to have any tags that are shamanist. However, you do have quite a few Tangri tags right here. I do imagine it'd be really fun to kind of play as these guys or someone else and form a massive horde. China is really split up, so attacking China as any one of these hordes will be a lot easier than it is in the base game. Going over to Japan and Korea, as you can see, we do have a full Korea intact. However, this Korea is actually Buddhist. And looking at Japan, we have Japan that is not as mixed up as it is in the base game. We actually have a almost fully unified Japan. We actually have Yamato right here. And looking at the religions in Japan, as you can see, they are all Daido, which I believe is probably just another form of Shinto Buddhism. I don't know. They use the same icon as they do in the base game, so I'm just assuming that it's Shinto. However, if I'm wrong, do let me know in the comments below. The mod creators really didn't do anything in North America or in South America. The tags, the cultures, and the religions are basically the same. Going over to Africa, the tags around here and in Southern Africa are basically the same as they are in the base game. However, if you go here to Eastern Africa, specifically the Horn of Africa, things are quite a bit different. As you can see, the religions are much different here. You have Jewish, which I already said, you have Hindu, which is really interesting to see, and you have a ton of Zoroastrian provinces here in where Kilwa is located in the base game. I do love how there's Hindu provinces here. I know I keep mentioning this, but that is really cool that there's Hindu provinces right here. Really makes it a lot more interesting. And it makes me wonder if there is some kind of historical preface behind having Hindu here. If I had to rate this mod, I'd probably rate this mod either a 8 to 7 out of 10, depending on there. A lot of stuff in this mod is not complete. Having the graphics where you have kind of just like missing flags around here for some of these tags. Let me see if I can get lucky and click on one. There you go. Having countries with missing tags like this, missing flag icons, is of course a little bit of an oversight. However, the mod creator is saying that it is in very early access, so do keep that in mind. And this rating I'm giving it now, the 7 to 8 out of 10 between there, is only for how the mod is right now. Once this mod gets updated and they add a lot of the graphics for not just the countries, but also for the various faiths, like not Zoroastrian, but like this one right here, like Mithras, where there's no icon. Once they add that icon and once they add kind of a description of the faith, it's going to be a lot more fun, and there's definitely a big potential this mod to kind of rival some of the other really big mods out there. This has been a mod review for the mod called Gods of Old. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to join the Discord. I have recently made a Discord, and there's a lot of really cool people there who talk about EU4, who talk about Hearts of Iron, and talk about other Paradox games. So if you want to just have a place to talk about EU4, if you have questions about EU4, about other games, or you just want a place to chill out and have fun with the community, definitely go ahead and click the link in the description to join the Discord. That is the easiest and quickest way to talk to me as well. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.